Alvar Aalto was born in 1898, and after qualifying as an architect from Helsinki Institute of Technology in 1921, he set up his first architectural practice in Jyväskylä. Sorry for my Finnish pronunciation. Where are we? In the north of Europe, in Finland, that became an independent republic in 1919. Jyväskylä Workers Club was designed by Alvar Aalto in 1925 for the Jyväskylä Workers Association. A largely windowless upper floor contained an auditorium used for political assemblies and a theater with stage, parterre, balconies, and foyer. To define the historical paradigm for a modern democratic society, Alvar Aalto used details from the Italian Renaissance. Borrowing Italian motifs, Aalto envisioned a Renaissance city for the newly independent Finnish nation. Do you know this picture? The Italian imaginary is reinforced in the building's interior, and most importantly, in the decorative painting on the interior of the theater. Almost a direct copy of the black and white marble of Alberti tomb of the Holy Sepulchre at the Rucellai Chapel in Florence. This is the Rucellai Chapel in Florence, and this is the Alvar Aalto Theater in Jyväskylä. In fact, the plan of the tomb and the plan of the Aalto Theater are very similar. This is the next building, completed in 1933 and started in 1928, the Paimio Sanatorium, antitubercular sanatorium. This building was of key importance for the international career of architects Alvar and his wife Aino Aalto. Starting with this project, Finnish architecture was no longer merely the receiver or influences from outside. A tuberculosis sanatorium was particularly suitable for a building which followed the tenets of the new functionalism, where bold concrete structures and state-of-the-art building services were inseparable elements of architecture. The main purpose of the project is integrating the landscape with the architectural site plan and the interiors. In fact, Alvar and Aino Aalto crafted all the facilities furniture. The project includes dramatic balconies. Remember that sunshine was the best cure for tuberculosis during the beginning of the 20th century. After, we have a cafeteria, meeting rooms, a chapel, public spaces, staff housing, and walking trails in the surrounding forest. The relation with the landscape, the southeast facade, the wing for the services, and look at this detail at the corner, the staircase, and around this staircase a wonderful white wall in front of the forest. It's important to understand the role of white wall in Alvar Aalto architecture. Remember this detail. After, we have the cafeteria, and another important picture for you is the relation with the landscape, but also the relation with the details, with the detail of the handrail. The patients' rooms themselves receive particular consideration because each space was originally designed to house 2 convalescents. Aalto created special no-splash sinks that would allow users to wash without disrupting the other. The detail of a chair. On the top floor, a sun terrace, remember the cure for the tuberculosis, a sun terrace dedicated to the heliotherapy treatment of patients. In front, at the same level of the birch forest. I tell you, it's easier to build a grand opera or a city center than to build a personal house. Alvar Aalto. You have all the slides on your Beat platform, okay? In 1935-36, Aino and Alvar Aalto acquired a site and almost completely untouched surroundings of Helsinki. Munkiniemi, as difficult pronunciation of the town around Helsinki. Munkiniemi, it's really a neighborhood now of Helsinki, 20 kilometers from the city center of Helsinki. The architects started designing their whole house, which was completed in August 1936. The project for the Aalto house in Munkiniemi was designed both as a family home and an office. The 2 functions are clearly visible. The slender mass of the office wing is in white painted brickwork. The cladding material for the residential part is a slender, dark-stained timber battens. Remember, white for the office and in wood for the residential part. The building has a flat roof and a large south-facing terrace. We enter to the house by a slate path leading up to the front wooden door. The Alto House is an intimate building for living and working, designed by two architects for themselves. Here you can see the ground floor. The lobby contains the main stairs. The dining room. This is a view of dining room. That's a wonderful point of view at the garden. A kitchen and room service. The living room with a wooden sliding door. We stay now in the studio atelier. The studio, built with simple, uncluttered materials, elevated on the ground level with a wooden gallery supported by thin pillars and black steel. With a private access to a very small room, the room of Alvaralto, a very private room for the architect, with a ladder leading to the upper floor to escape from unwelcome guests. Finally, on the upper floor, the first floor, we find a little lounge, the bedrooms and the serving rooms, and the gym on the terrace. In 1955, because a number of large commissions, Alvaralto designed his studio as separated from the family house. The building is only a short walk from Alto's own house, where the office had been located. From the outside, a white wall enclosing a garden gives us a view of the simplicity of the materials. A geometrical prism with a pitched roof in white bricks covered by trees. In its inner courtyard, the white wall conceals a garden shaped like an amphitheater. This is the original drawing, the original sketches. The courtyard amphitheater serves as an auditorium, and in its opposite wall there was a projection screen for conference and lecture. The office staff could sit on the slate steps of the amphitheater. And this is a black and white historical photo with the office staff. These two photographs show us also attention to detail, frame an additional part of the project. Built in 1962-1963 in the courtyard behind the high brick wall. This is a new dining room for the staff, in the Italian word, taverna, called taverna, where everything from furniture to the lighting was designed by the architects. Also, the wooden kitchen with its details. On the first floor, the main space of the building is the gallery, with a beautiful view on the courtyard. Horizontal battens fixed to the high walls of the studio gallery allow drawings to be displayed, while curvilinear and natural shapes is also used for the steps. Moreover, the rear wall is covered with climbing plants reaching up to the high-level windows. Let's take now the internal staircase, enjoying the wooden details on a human scale. We arrive on the upper floor, where we find the real architectural studio space, flooded with natural light. On the corner, the slanting bay window of the conference room with its roof light creates the perfect conditions for examining models and drawings. And finally, a beautiful drawing office of the Narum plan, defined by natural light from a band of high-level windows. The Villa Mairea, built in Normaku between 1937 and 1939 for Maire and Harry Gulliksen, is a guest house and rural retreat with a simple plan. Basically, two L-shaped bodies define an internal court. The ground floor is reserved for social life, while the L-shaped plan is extended. In an open portico that leads to the sauna, and here you see this wooden portico linked to the swimming pool. A view of the swimming pool from the roof. Also set this part of relation with the landscape, also in the form of architecture. The main facade of the south with an entrance shelter, where even the pillars are masked by a tubular wood paneling. Here you have an overview on the south facade. On the ground floor, we have the heart of the house with the library, the study, and part of the living room, while on the first floor we have the bedrooms. Remember, the library, the study, and part of the living room, and the first floor, the bedrooms. We enter now on the house from this door, where we find the beautiful living room, not beautiful, wonderful living room with a fireplace, circular pillars covered in wood, and the main staircase set in a forest of wooden pillars, thin wooden pillars. Look at these extraordinary details of the pillars. And look at the staircase with thin wooden pillars. A wonderful photo. Without a formal order, these wooden pillars. And look at the ergonomic steps. With the first step bigger and believed in the corner. Bigger. And a view on the other steps. A detail of the handrail, the fireplace, and the furniture. Sorry, this is a wonderful detail because this is a reference to the nature. This is a natural shape carved in the masonry of the fireplace. A wonderful detail to understand the relation with the nature. The furniture, designed by Alto. Another view on the living room. And screened corner window open to the garden, summer garden. While on the east we find the kitchen, auxiliary spaces and rooms for domestic and guests. The first floor is strictly private, empowering the relationship with the outside, exalted by large terraces, bedrooms. Also, in the facade, wood covers the most private part of the house. Regarding the materials, in the court, we have white painted bricks and blue maiolica. Stone basement and wood, just like the architect Alto had in mind. Moving away from the villa, the house disappears into the woods, in the landscape. In 1955, the Finnish Communist Party asked Aalto to draw up plans for a building complex combining the party headquarters, association facilities, and a cultural center. This building is the Culture House in Helsinki. Aalto tackled the job as 3 separate assignments, giving the building a tripartite structure. Aalto built a rectangular, copper-clad office wing with 5 stories above ground, with an office wing for meeting and conference. Look at this part, the free-form auditorium in red brick, this other volume with the window for the offices, and a bridge, a portico that connected the 2 volumes. A quotation by the acoustic considerations. In fact, the House of Culture became known for its excellent acoustics, being used frequent for concert, etc. The whole complex is held together by a column-borne copper canopy that runs alongside the street for 60 meters and form a portico. Finally, some details of the monolithic exterior of the auditorium wing. Look at the detail of the brick. Look at the brick surfaces. Using the specially manufactured standard wedge-shaped brick designed by Alvar Aalto for the purpose. Here you have the comparison between the brick auditorium wing and the office building. This is a detail. And finally, in a historical photo, the internal space of the auditorium. This is another important project in Murassalo, in Finland, not Finland, sorry, Finland. This is a summer house, experimental summer house. This house has been conceived in 1952 as a synthesis between an architect's private practice and an experimental center. Look at the plan. The first experiment includes a building without a foundation, with a diagonal system of beams resting on large load-bearing stones. Look at here, the detail here, on the stone, directly on the stones, without foundation. Outside, the house is like a brick white painted fence surrounded by trees and the landscape. We stay at 100 kilometers from Helsinki. Ending with a small courtyard building used as a storage area, where the ground anchoring system is clearly visible. This. This is the brick are white outside and red inside. A collection inside, a collection of Alvar Aalto experiments on brick, both in shape and in firing. Look at the detail inside this courtyard in red brick with different typology of brick and also blue maiolica. It's really books and handbooks of for using bricks. Every brick is different. Also, the floor. We tried the comparisons between the colors of brick and ceramic tiles, colored blue and also white. Blue and white. We have bricks, different bricks and wood, frame of windows. Another wonderful detail, wood, blue ceramic, and bricks. Another detail. Leaving the house and heading towards the lake, we find one last small wooden building, a small sauna for the Finnish tradition, masterpiece of Finnish tradition, that looks toward the lake. Many lakes in Finland. Also, there is a space also for the boats. Sorry, because necessary to know that this house represents also a turning point for Aalto life. In fact, his first wife, Aino Marcio, was died in 1949, and after a period of Great Depression, in 1952, exactly in the year of the Murazzalo, Aalto married the architect Kaisa Manchiniemi, known as Elissa Aalto. And with the second wife, he started a new season of his career. And start with this building, the Seinäjoki Town Hall, started in 1949, the first project, and this building was inaugurated in 1952. Seinäjoki Town Hall. Aalto won a competition for preparing the working drawings and laid out for 2-story wings around the square courtyard set 1 story higher than its surrounding. This is a cool courtyard. The dominant element of the building is the council chamber, which soars tower-like above the complex. The main material used for the exterior as well as for the representative areas of the interior is bare red brick. All the surface are in bare red brick. In the 50s, Aalto won 2 important competitions for the design of 2 university campuses. After entering a general planning competition at the end of May 1951, Aalto starts the project for the Jyväskylä University, 300 kilometers north of Helsinki. This is a project inspired by American campuses with a U-pattern formed by buildings frames, the open center space with the sport fields in the middle. Aalto emphasized on materiality and the combination of white walls with wood, brick and glass as fundamentally present in all of these buildings, particularly in the main building. As we have seen the Villa Mairea, do you remember? Even here, in the interior, Alvar Aalto seeks a particular correspondence between natural forms and forms of living. In addition of Jyväskylä campus, Alvar Aalto designed and built the Helsinki Polytechnic University in Otaniemi, 15 kilometers from Helsinki, Otaniemi. Now, the school called Aalto University. Look at the panoramic view. It's a campus in a complex in red brick buildings. Follow the course of the land on the lakes, not so far from the Helsinki Historical Center. Look at the plan, because the spaces, classrooms, laboratories, offices, include 2 auditoriums and several courtyards, around which are graphed the space for teachings. The first building that we met is the auditorium, open to the courtyard, with the staircase where students sit reading or where are giving outdoor lessons. Also, this is a quotation of the classical theaters. The library, always covered with its traditional red bricks. An overview on the inside. Observe the pillars. They are like those of Jyväskylä and those in Villa Mairea, do you remember? The campus is surrounded by nature. And walking, you will find the boundary between the School of Engineering in red brick and the School of Architecture. Look at this line in white. When a red brick, this brick at the border, but just around the corner, you can find in front of the facade clad in pure white marble. Why? To represent the classical spirit of the School of Architecture. Red brick for the School of Engineering, and after white marble for the School of Architecture, with large windows and this white courtyard, also with pieces of stone and marble from different places sit on the floor like chairs, in which to stop and think to the future of architecture. Now, let's try to look at the drawing rooms, the workshop, where we recognize the Aalto signature also in the furniture, the School of Architecture, and finally, the works of the architectural students exposed to the visitors that take light from the window. This is a building for Enzo Gutzeit headquarters in historical center of Helsinki that was completed in 1962. The new head office building is covered with white Carrara marble, chosen as the surface material linking the building with the row of white facades on the north esplanade. Look at the experiment with the precious materials, such as marble. And this is another masterpiece by Aalto, the University Bookshop or Book Palace, located in Helsinki city center, with this copper-clad facade and a wonderful interior space. This is a central hall and a marble courtyard. And look at prism-shaped skylights for the light on the books, the natural lights on the books. On the courtyard and the balconies running around the central hall, all in a Carrara marble. Second part of the lecture is about the Nordic architecture. You understand that I try to show you a research, a personal point of view on a hero of modern architecture, and after the followers or the heritage of the master. In this case, we can understand the heritage but also the roots of Alvar Aalto architecture, the Nordic architecture. And this is the first protagonist of our story, a very important, a master of Alvar Aalto, as we can call Erik Gunnar Asplund. It was born in 1885 and was died in 1940. A Swedish architect. This is a very important masterpiece, the Stockholm Public Library in 1929. It really changed the European modern architecture of the 20th century. It's not an avant-garde building, but it's a modern building with a classical flavor. The first thing that we can see is the geometric elements of its composition. Look at the cylinder emerging from a rectangular box. The walls are finished in stucco, allowing the formal purity of the structure to maintain its full visual impact on visitors. Visitors can access to the library through a staircase with a classical idea and from an Egyptian style doorway This is the main entrance inside the reading room. The reading room is a cavernous space ringed with 3 terraced levels of open shelving. Above the book stacks, the walls rise the full height of the cylinder, with light streaming in from a ring of windows near the flat ceiling. It's a wonderful detailed ceiling, like a sky on a ring full of books. The project by Gunnar Asplund and Sigurd Leverentz for the Woodland Cemetery in Stockholm started in 1919, and by the time of Asplund's death in 1940, the architects had transformed the forested site into a modern sanctuary. The cemetery is an outstanding example of the successful application of the 20th century concept of architecture, well integrated into its environment. The cemetery consists of several buildings built over the years. For example, 1923 saw the completion of a staff and service building designed by Asplund. The building, a playfully shaped wooden building on one level, entirely in green, made up of 4 square pavilions with very pointed tent-like roofs clad in metal. Because this is another building, another very important building. This is a reconstruction, real reconstruction. But this is a very important building. The Woodland Chapel, a small building, but really wonderful, designed by Asplund and inaugurated in the 20s. Inspired by the traditional vernacular architecture of the North, vernacular. The design of the coffin vault is like an old root cellar, symbolize the departed's return to the earth. The portico is lined with 12 columns in direct communication with the surrounding. The chapel itself is square, and inside there is a circular dome through which indirect light flows in. Always in Woodland Cemetery, we see the crematorium, completed in 1940. The whole facility communicates with the open landscape of the entrance to the cemetery. Designed by Sigurd Leverentz, that was born in the same year of Asplund, 1885, and completed in 1925, the Chapel of Resurrection has the look of the Neoclassicist temple. Mounted on 12 columns, the portico leads visitor into the quiet chapel with its attractive mosaic floor and many fine details. On the interior, we have an elegant single window and the organ gallery hidden from the view, for the Resurrection Chapel in Woodland Cemetery in Stockholm. And now, from the architecture before the Second World War, a recent hero, Sverre Fehn, a Norwegian architect. He was a professor of Oslo School of Architecture from 1971 to 1995. And he designed over 100 buildings. He was born in 1924. He represents the third generation of modern architects. And this is very important building in Italy, in Biennale di Venezia, in Venice. Biennale di Venezia, the Nordic Pavilion. Sverre Fehn designed for the Nordic Pavilion in Biennale di Venezia, in Venice, a roof full of concrete thin sheets. In designing the roof open to the landscape, it's necessary to have in mind the sky and the ground. Fehn was able to control how the rain would fall into the space. This is an internal space. In this sense, it's a building in possession of its surrounding and with a great respect of the site. For this reason, we can say that the Nordic Pavilion in Venice rewrite the Nordic vernacular tradition in South of Europe, in Italy, in Venice. Finally, look at the construction materials. Sverre Fehn employed both original materials and those specific to the site, a combination of white cement, white sand, and crushed white. A very different project is Sverre Fehn Villa Schreiner in Oslo, Norway. At the first impression, in 1963, the building is a closed villa without relation with the landscape. A portico surrounds the house and gives intimacy to the sleeping area. Even if the outside of the house is completely glazed. On the interior, we see the living room with an open fireplace and brick wall. The kitchen and bathrooms are the core of the building, around which everything revolves. While specific design detail connects or separates the interior and the exterior spaces with very large sliding windows. A Norrköping house in Sweden was designed by Sverre Fehn in 1963-1964 as a model architecture for an ideal family of 4. Look at this. This is a Palladian villa with a modular square composition and show itself like a brick fence with 4 very thin steel pillars that hold the glass box on the top. Look at the Palladian villa. The plan, in fact, is a crochet shape and symmetrical with a central square core hosting services, bathrooms, toilets, kitchen, and storage spaces. Here we have the kitchen and the second square surrounding it. 4 C-shaped walls host the private rooms and the living room. Here we have the bedroom. The exterior C-shaped walls are made of bricks. While all the corners are glazed with a massive wooden frame. In 1989, Sverre Fehn started work on the design of the Norwegian Glacier Museum, which opened in 1991. A very contemporary masterpiece inside an ancient landscape. The angular concrete bunker recalls the stone mountains carved by glaciers. We enter through the long entrance canopy. And we walk around the museum on the longitudinal line. Moreover, 2 stairways on either side of the entrance lead to the rooftop view, an intelligent contemporary project which recognizes in the tradition, in this case the Nordic tradition, a way for the future of the architecture, the future of the modern architecture. And the last slide is a quotation by Alvar Aalto. Remember, form must have a content, and that content must be linked with nature.